some time to answer some of them. Last time we had you on, we had tons of questions.
Yeah. Ask away. I'm here to answer all your questions.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I'll ask all my questions too, which would be super cool.
We've lost connection.
We lost connection on the internet.
Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Flynn and I'm here with Demas Rusli. How are you?
Hi guys, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Cool. If you joined a minute ago or two, we just had a couple of technical difficulties, but we have it all sorted now. So why don't we take it from the top? We were chatting about your trip to Japan.
Yeah, just got back from Japan 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Just there for a holiday, no work, no job, so it was really fun. Really had a good time.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Very good. And so if you're just joining us in the chat, we can see some people there. Yes, you are in the masterclass with Demas, so you're in the right spot. We're going to spend the next about hour kind of going through some steps to do some Cinemagraphs, which is super, super cool. And it's great to have you back. And yeah, come say hi in the chat. So you can log in with your Adobe ID, say hello. We'd love to find out where you're from. We're going live from Sydney at the moment. So yeah, how about if people aren't aware of who you are and what you do, maybe a bit of the background, because there's architecture in there, there's photography, there's a lot of travel. So what's your deal? How would you describe yourself?
So my name is Demas Rusli, and you all probably know me from Instagram at Demas. I am a photographer and also an architect. So I used to work full-time and then part-time at an architecture firm in Sydney. And then on the side, I do a bunch of photography, and it's all come from social media and Instagram, and it's all come through there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, very good. Awesome. So yeah, hey to some of the people in the chat. We got David K, Carl D, see Pat's in there, Lewis, hello. Hi everyone.
Hello.
So yeah, it's good to have you in Indonesia. Awesome.
Hey.
Yeah, good to see people from all around the world. Yeah, very good. All right, well, so why don't we kind of give a bit of a recap, kind of like where we're going to end up today. So what's like the final version that we're going to end up with today?
So today's live stream, we're going to be talking about how to create a looping cinemagraph.
Right.
A cinemagraph is, the definition, I guess, it's like a still photo that is combined with a subtle movement or some sort of movement. So it's like basically a video mixed with a photo.
Yeah.
To create a more engaging piece of content, because when you look at a video on Instagram, it's much more engaging than a photo most of the time.
Yeah, something's just static.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like moving and it's got more interest to it.
Yeah, cool.
And I guess for a cinemagraph, it's really good to have it looping, because if it's endlessly looping, people won't know when it starts or ends, and they just keep watching it, and it's like, wow, like this waterfall never ends, or like this beach just keeps, the waves just keep coming, or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into it then.
So today we're going to be using mainly Adobe Premiere Pro.
Right.
And so I'm going to just open, and then also a bit of Photoshop as well.
Always a bit of Photoshop thrown in there.
Always a bit of Photoshop. Never a day without Photoshop.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to open up Premiere Pro. We're going to click New Project, and we're going to just title it Waterfall Cinemagraph. Sweet. And then I'm just going to go OK. Let it load for a bit, and this is the panel that you get when you just open Adobe Premiere Pro. I'll take it slowly if lots of people have never used Premiere Pro before.
Right. Cool.
Just step by step. It's not as hard as people think. It's not too bad.
It can look intimidating, I got to say.
Yeah, I think that's how I feel about After Effects.
Right.
But I think I've gotten used to Premiere now to be able to understand where everything is.
Cool.
Okay, so now we're going to find the video file and drag it in. So here's the video file, which is
Waterfall.
A waterfall in Bali, and I've taken like 9 minutes straight of it at different angles and different focal lengths.
Same camera.
Same camera. I just when you're recording your cinemagraph or like making it in on site, you want to try to keep your camera as still as possible.
Right.
So either use a tripod, like that's probably the best thing to do. But if you don't have a tripod, you just try to hold it really still, and then you can in post in Adobe Premiere or After Effects, you can stabilize it so it locks in place.
Right.
But that's a bit harder to do. So I think using a tripod is probably best.
Right.
I've done stuff with drones as well, where like I try to keep the drone as still as possible, but because there's a bit of wind, it kind of pushes it to the side.
Yeah, it's going to like wobble a little bit. Yeah.
For that, I use Premiere or After Effects to lock it in place.
Right.
When I'm doing these sorts of animation and cinemagraphs.
So if you were planning on doing a cinemagraph, tripod, number one.
Yes.
Or resting your camera, I guess, on something
so
safe.
it doesn't move. Yeah. So I did one when I was in Japan in basically just around Mount Fuji.
Yep.
So I literally just rested my camera on a rock and recorded the water rolling with the mountain in the background. But
cool.
That's coming up later on my Instagram. So
okay.
It's
that's
coming
content
soon.
to come. Coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, so we're going to bring this video file into Premiere. So we're just going to drag it and drop it into the timeline. We're going to mute the sound for now, but we're going to use it a bit later because with sound it makes it a lot more engaging. Anyway, so this is the video file. So as you can see, it's just scrolling through it. It's just a long video of a waterfall.
Yeah.
We're gonna first get the framing right and make sure the size of the frame is what you want for the content, like where you want to post it. So for example, I'm going to post it on Instagram.
Right.
So Instagram is best at 4x5 vertical.
So that's the post.
That's the post on my feed. But at the same time, if you do 4x5, you can also post it on stories. It just gets cropped on the side, which is okay.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna start by going sequence at the top here, and then sequence settings, which is the first one.
Nice.
Usually it's best for video. I read all these articles on how to maximize your video quality on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they say 30 frames a second works best. I read. So I'm just going to go editing mode custom and time base 30 frames a second.
Yeah, it's interesting with this stuff because with video, you always want to match whatever the optimum version is. Like, I know YouTube's a bit different, Vimeo's a bit different, Instagram's a bit different. But if you don't, then it starts like, it does some sort of compression on its own side. Yeah. And you can get things a little bit blurry, a little bit janky, the time's off a bit or something. Yeah,
so the aim, I guess, is to match it and try to maximize the Instagram compression as well.
Cool.
So then, because the short length of it is 1080, we're going to use that in the horizontal. So we're going to type 1080 here. And then in the vertical, because it's going to be 4x5, I'm just doing a bit of maths.
Yeah.
It's 1350.
Yeah, you've also done that before.
I have.
Bit of math.
I do it many times.
Yeah.
So it's 1080 by 1350 to get you a 4x5 ratio.
Perfect.
Then you just can click OK. And OK. So here you get that size.
Right.
But the video still turns sideways. So the first thing I'm going to do is click the video layer, the video track here. And I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. But I think if I turn it 90 degrees, it's going to be upside down.
Right.
So we're going to turn it 270 degrees in the rotation here. Enter.
Cool.
There you go. So I guess the next step is to you only need about 10 to 15 seconds of footage. Even shorter is fine. The minimum length you can post on Instagram is 3 seconds.
Right.
For a post. So, I usually post about 5 to 6 seconds worth of video.
Right.
So we're going to look for about 15 seconds worth of video, so where it's super still. So at the beginning there, I was just setting up my tripod, so it's not still yet. So it starts to become quite still here. So I'm going to chop it using this razor tool. You can also click C to get the razor tool. And then chop it in there, and then delete that first bit. Delete. Bring it to the front.
And you're not worrying about matching up the audio to the video because it's a waterfall.
Yeah,
it's going to sound the same.
Be the same.
Yeah. Cool. But in other instances, would you have to kind of cut them together,
like
maybe?
cars and stuff. Sometimes you would have to get the right audio.
Cool.
A lot of time I use like stock audio as well.
Yeah.
So, like, just to get the atmosphere of it. Most people probably have seen the one I did of the drone above Santa Monica Pier, the theme park.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so I did like the sound of a theme park. I found that all online and tried to mash all together.
It wasn't a microphone on the drone. No. Yeah.
And also the sound of the waves and stuff was all like stock.
Yeah.
Sounds.
Cool.
So now we're just gonna pick 15 seconds of this waterfall. So we're just gonna type in 1500 in the timeline. Gets you to 15 seconds. And again, we're gonna chop it off.
That just jumps it in the timeline, 15 seconds from the beginning.
Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna chop it off there and delete the rest of it. You don't need any more. I think for the audio, you just kind of need to look for like, and also 15 seconds of it. So kind of look for where it's, if you look at this track, where it's kind of consistent. So there's no like spikes.
Yeah.
So from there it's about consistent. So I'm going to chop it off there. Bring it to the front again and then chop it to the same 15 seconds. But you can tweak that later. Like, it's just to get that 15-second timing right. Okay, so now we have this 15-second clip, and then if you play it, and you click here, loop playback, it should just play automatically, and it should just loop back to the front.
This is really calming.
Yeah.
I needed this on a Wednesday.
But if you look at here right now, when it loops, it kind of jumps.
Right, yeah.
So if I do it again, it's gonna jump. So the aim of this making a looping cinematograph is so that it doesn't jump. Before we do that looping, I think I'm gonna fix up the framing of this waterfall first, so because it's not centered, and I kind of want it more centered in the frame.
Okay.
So to do that, we're gonna change the scale up here. I'm gonna make it maybe 110%, and then from there, because it's 110%, we can move it to the left. So double click the picture in the display, and then you can drag it to the left. By holding shift, you can just keep it straight. You don't jump around. I think it's also a bit too high, so I'm going to bring it down. Cool, I think I like that.
Nice. Hey, we got a question from Vivek, was asking, what features of Premiere Pro made you switch from After Effects to Premiere Pro?
After Effects and Premiere Pro are two completely different programs. So After Effects, I would say, is like a Photoshop for video.
Right.
So you can do a lot more things. You can like mask stuff out. You can track things. Whereas Premiere is more like a video editing tool. So it's like just video tracks, audio tracks, and you stack them and fade in and out of each other. So it's much more simple than After Effects.
Right.
I'm not an expert in After Effects at all. I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, so I always started at Premiere Pro. I never started at After Effects.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Good question. Keep the questions coming, guys. We'll ask them as we go.
Sweet. So I'm happy with that, and I guess now we want to make it loop. So to make it loop, it's basically the concept is you want to fade out at the end of the first video clip, and then a new video clip appears, and it links to the front.
Okay, but it's the same video.
Yes.
Right.
So you have this video clip here, right? 15 seconds. I think maybe it's still a bit too long, so maybe I just make it 10 seconds for now. Right, so you're gonna just drag it down to 10 seconds. Then you're gonna move it up one track to V2. So there's a gap here where it's like a free track below it.
And V2 is a video track, right?
Yes.
So we got
there's V1,
A1,
V2,
A2, yeah.
And A is audio.
Cool.
So then we're gonna chop off the first 2 seconds, the first front 2 seconds of the clip. So which is type in 200. We're gonna chop it off, and then bring it forward. So now the clip's only 8 seconds, and then you're gonna hold Alt while you drag this down, so it creates a copy in a second.
Very good.
And make sure it snaps to the back, right? And you're gonna bring that 2 seconds back.
Okay.
So at the 6 second mark, right, which is because it's 8 minus 2.
Yep. Some basic math going on here. I'm with you, Just.
Yep. So we're gonna bring it back to 6 seconds and pull it back all the way here, so it's lining up.
Okay.
Right. So then now you have a video track below it.
Right, and then we're 8 seconds now.
Yeah, it's an 8-second clip, and there's a video track below it.
Cool.
So then from the point of 6 seconds where there's a second track below it, you're gonna start fading out for your on your first video clip.
Okay.
So you're gonna click. So the timeline's already set at 6 seconds because you typed in 6 seconds here.
Right.
And then in your opacity, you're gonna click this little diamond.
Okay.
And that creates a keyframe.
That's our keyframe. Cool.
So it's going to be 100% all the way up to there, and then you're going to drag it to the end of that timeline, and you make it 0. So you just drag this back to 0, and it creates another keyframe for you there.
Cool.
So basically, what's happening is it fades out, and then the new video layer from below is playing, and then because the point at the end is where you
is
loop,
the beginning of the next one.
it's going to loop. So if I play it now, you just keep waiting for it, and then here's where it makes that transition. You can't really see it because it's waterfall, and then it just keeps going.
You guys, we did it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a looping video already.
Wow. That's a really clever way.
So you don't have to do this with like a still photo. You can literally loop anything. So the next part of a Cinemagraph is to put a photo on top, right? To make it like a still. Whereas now it's like, it's just a video that's looping. Pretty much.
Right.
Which
Very
is
cool.
like, that's it.
Such a good way to do it.
Yeah, so it's
the perfect combination between creativity and math. I like it.
I love maths. Not many people know that I actually used to be a maths tutor.
Did you really?
Yeah, for like high school students.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed my math at school.
Math is coming in handy.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Anyways, so before I put in the photo of Lucy, my wife, on top, I'm going to try to color grade the video first.
Okay.
To do that, because we have to color grade both video tracks.
Right.
An easier way to do that is to put an adjustment layer at the top and just color grade that adjustment layer so it affects everything. To do that, you're going to go here in the project tab, and here in the new item, click it, and then you go adjustment layer. And then it already spits out the right settings for you to the same settings as you.
Based on your canvas kind of thing, sequence.
Yep, and you get this adjustment layer here, and it's defaulted at 5 seconds. So you're going to drag it in at the top at V3, because whatever is below it, it gets affected.
Right.
Drag it out to the 8-second length, and so that's your adjustment layer on top.
Cool.
So to adjust the color, you go adjustment layer, click it, and on the right here, there's the Lumetri color panel. If you can't find that, you can go to your effects panel and type in Lumetri, and then you should be able to find Lumetri color, I think. Same thing. There, Lumetri color.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just drag it into it. So the same sort of thing happens.
Cool.
So once I start playing with these things, the Lumetri color effect will get put onto the adjustment layer automatically.
Cool, and it's everything below. So if you had like a V4 and you had something above that, it wouldn't be affected.
It wouldn't be affected.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So you're gonna click this adjustment layer, and then basically it's kind of like an even more basic version of Lightroom in terms of the editing process, the color grading process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit too bright, in my opinion. So I'm gonna push the exposure down a little bit.
Cool. As we're doing that, we've got another question.
Yep.
David was asking, notice that you're using Windows rather than a Mac, and we're just wondering why that might be. Or
I've never used a Mac
never
before.
used a Mac?
Yeah. I've grown up with Windows, never used an iPhone. So I've grown up on an Android device. I've been using Samsung devices since the S4.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. So I've never been part of the Apple ecosystem.
So you don't know.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just works for me, and I'm fine with it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's just keep going.
Thanks, Nia and David. Both had the same question. So Kenta was asking, said I mainly use Photoshop in the timeline to do cinemagraphs. What made you use Premiere Pro over Photoshop?
Photoshop, when you do video, you can do video in Photoshop, but for me, maybe it's the speed of my computer, but it kind of lags a little bit, and it doesn't show the video, like the preview is not as good.
Right.
And I think in Premiere you get a lot more control over video.
So you can use the timeline. I think back in the day we used to use them for making GIFs all the time.
Exactly.
Photoshop, yeah.
So yeah, I make GIFs on Photoshop too.
Right.
But it's I think for video stuff it's much more intuitive in Premiere. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a timeline and you fade it out. It's the same sort of thing.
Right.
And if you have pictures, you can also put pictures and make a slideshow.
Yeah.
It's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Thanks for the question, guys.
So yeah, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna push up the contrast because that looks quite good. And you can also, instead of just pushing sliders, you can type in numbers. So like 30 to make it nice round numbers if you want. Highlights, I'm gonna maybe bring it down a little bit. Maybe -20. Shadows, bring it down. Yeah, give it that kind of more moody look to it.
So for me, like often when I'm editing, when I'm doing this sort of thing, even on my phone or using Lightroom Mobile or using something else, never sure what to tweak.
Right.
Like, do you have go-to that you tweak, or is it really just every photo is different and you got to play around and wait till it's right?
Yeah, every photo is different in my opinion, but like you can, like if you do it enough, you'll be able to see like what you want to do with it.
Right.
But it's also like there's no set rules, so you can. If you like it super bright, then it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
If you like it like more blue or more orange, like cooler or warmer, it's up to you.
Yeah, cool.
Blacks, maybe I'll just push it down a little bit to give it more pop in the color. I like mine cooler, so I'm going to push it a little bit towards the blue end. Which is, let's go -5, and then because it's kind of already green, I'm going to push the green a little bit more. -10. Kind of looks like it looks different on my screen to there, but I guess I'm just gonna do it to my screen.
Yeah, do it to your screen.
Yeah, so I guess before and after, how do I turn off this Lumetri? You can clear it. So this is what it looked before, and then this is after.
Nice.
A few more things. You can add a bit of sharpening, which I'm gonna do here, and then add a bit of vibrance as well to push out the colors. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the color on that. And again, it's gonna play looping video.
Cool. Awesome. While we're doing that, Cayenne was asking. Actually, I had two questions. Are you ever going to start your own YouTube channel?
My bad.
Have some water. And the other question was, do you ever make your own presets? So I assume that's in Premiere, because there is like an extensive.
Oh, as in like LUTs in Premiere?
Yeah, I think so.
I've never made one before, but I do have Lightroom presets, but you can't really use that in Premiere.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll make some LUTs.
Cool.
But at the moment, I don't have any.
Yeah. Very good. That's it.
What was the other question?
It was. Are you ever going to start your own YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's something on my mind. It's been on my mind for a long time.
Need more time in the day.
I don't really want to, but yeah, I just need more time and planning it, like understanding, what background I want to use, or like what templates and stuff, and like I don't know, just it's also a bit scary. So jumping into something is a bit. Yeah,
you could do it easily, man.
Ease it in.
So good on here.
Ease it in bit by bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, doing this helps as well, right? Like it's time in front of the camera, and it's live, so it's even more pressure.
Yeah.
But I just like easing in bit by bit. Is always good.
Cool. And obviously, you do lots of tutorials on Instagram as well, which is where like a lot of people are a lot of the time. So you just kind of click through. They're always really great.
Okay, so now we're gonna take one frame of this and then Photoshop a person on top. So we don't want to export the video yet. We'll just do that at the very end.
Okay.
So to take a frame, you're gonna find the plus button here, and then find the picture that looks like a camera, export frame, and drag it into your little toolbar. So we're gonna click it. Oh, okay, click it, and then it's gonna export a still from your video.
Okay.
So, and it's gonna save it to my desktop. Sweet, so that's done. Go back out to your desktop and you have your still here. You're gonna open that in Photoshop. Open with Photoshop.
Nice.
Sweet, so that's one frame of your video, right? And this is where you make your cinemagraph. Like you turn your video into a cinemagraph.
Okay.
By placing a still element on top.
Right. So far you'd say that we have a looping video.
Yep.
But it's not a cinematograph yet.
It's not a cinematograph yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So then I've got this other photo of my wife Lucy, which is like that. She's just standing. She's actually not standing as close to the waterfall as I would like, because it's actually quite far and lots of rocks, as it gets dangerous.
This is the same waterfall, right?
Yeah, same waterfall, but she's just standing a lot closer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drag that into the Photoshop file. Again, you can match your colors in Photoshop as well. I'm gonna just rasterize it because it works better. You don't need to keep it as a smart object because it's just gonna be so small. So it's okay. So I'm gonna push the brightness up. So this is where you can match the colors before you resize her and chop her out. And then maybe the color balance as well.
So why would you not edit the colors in Photoshop and like know exactly what you've done, and then bring it into Premiere, create the looping video, then bring it back into Photoshop, and then do exactly what you did in Photoshop the first time? Because you've edited the colors in Premiere.
Yeah, because it's a video.
Right.
Right. If it's a still, I would do it in Photoshop.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
That's just. If you do that in Photoshop first, it kind of adds another step to it.
Right.
But editing the colors in Premiere is it's fine enough. Like it works. Like the metric color panel, it's basically like Lightroom.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Okay. So.
And what was the video shot on?
It was shot on my camera, like Sony A7R2.
Right. On
a tripod, and I think a 24-70 lens, so I could zoom in and out.
Right.
Take different parts of the waterfall.
Cool. Cool. Good question. Thanks for the question, guys.
So again, I'm gonna probably push the contrast up. So the color's kind of matching, if you can kind of see the one behind it. And then now you just start to basically mask her out. And to do that, we just like delete the top above her head, delete the sides, and then you want to use like a polygonal lasso tool to mask around. But I think let's try this one. Let's try the magic wand.
Okay. Feeling dangerous today.
And then there's this new tool called Select Subject in Photoshop.
Right. Yeah.
So if you just click that, see what it selects. So it's actually doing quite well.
It's remarkably good these days.
Yeah. It just does it for me.
Yeah.
So it's basically selected all around her, which is quite good, except for in between her thighs here. So I'm gonna delete that out. So hold Alt and the polygonal lasso, and then we're gonna just draw around here to
And
to get
because
rid
we
of that
know
mask.
that she's going to be quite small and it's going to be seen on, and it's something that's specifically for Instagram, you know that you don't have to be like
Yeah, super accurate.
super
I think
accurate.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to keep the rock below her, so I'm just gonna like draw a box like that. Oops. So the mask is now, the selection is now Lucy with a rock below her.
Right.
So I'm gonna inverse the selection, which is now I'm gonna select the background. I want to delete it. So now you get her
Mm-hmm.
and a rock below her. I'm gonna now place her on this rock here, and so just free transform and then make her smaller. Alright. You could also hide her behind like a rock,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to. She doesn't have to be standing on a rock. She can be behind a rock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the full picture. I think maybe like that. I think the size is pretty good, recognizable as a human figure.
Mm-hmm.
And it could, like, I mean, the whole point of these is like you can kind of be anyone. It's like it could be, you know, your sister or whatever, right? It could, yeah.
Right, like it's a figure.
It's
like
just a
it's to
figure.
give you scale.
Yeah, just to
and
give you
depth.
scale.
Yeah, cool.
But if you want to do a portrait cinematograph, you can do like you can mask a bigger person at the front and then still have moving things in the background. So
Mhm.
same sort of stuff.
Right.
Okay, so now let's clean up this rock here below her.
Yeah, so JB, to answer that question, it was the magic wand tool at first, and then the polygonal tool. That one that I've been using for the last 15 years.
Okay, so you're gonna use the eraser tool. Make the size quite small and your hardness 0, so it's like feathering the edges, and then just kind of like rub out the rock below her. Trying to match. You want to keep a bit of a shadow, right? But maybe we can even chop out this part. Bring it down a little bit. Yeah, I think I can just chop her, like, see, because it looks fine, like she's like behind a rock,
Right.
so it looks fine.
Yep.
So if I zoom out, so she's just standing behind a rock.
Standing behind the rock. Yep.
Her edges are a bit too sharp at the moment because everything else here is a bit blurry.
Right.
Like in terms of like the.
Is that because of the depth of field
Yep.
of the camera?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to match it or to kind of fix it a little bit, you can use the blur tool,
Mhm.
which is this one here, and make it quite small. And then just literally, too big. Maybe like 5. Literally just like blur her edges a little bit so that it's matching more with the background.
Mm.
Maybe to add a little bit more realism to it, we can add a bit of a shadow. So again, you're going to add a new layer. Put it below her, and then paint it black. So choose the color black, and then make your brush kind of small, and then just paint a layer of black on top. Make your opacity of that layer really, really small. So it's just like maybe 30%. So
Yep.
it's like quite small.
The only good shadow is a very subtle shadow.
Yeah, maybe that's too much now. 25. All right, so like that, and then we can just erase whatever's above the rock. Like that. So there's like a sort of a mini shadow below her, which will get put into the video as well.
Right.
At the end. So again, I'm
Okay.
gonna blur this edge because that shadow. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Cool. Very subtle, but you can see there's a shadow now below her.
Cool.
Sweet. So that's ready. Make it full size, and then all you have to do now is turn off the background. So that's just Lucy standing in white where she needs to be in the photo.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, and then you want to do File, Export as, and then you want to choose Format PNG to create a transparent background.
Great.
So the size and height is already the same size as the video, 1080 by 1350, which is fine. And then you're going to click Export All. And we'll put that on the desktop as well. So save. Sweet. That's ready to go. So now back in Premiere, all you're going to do is drag that PNG that you've created, which is here, on top of the adjustment layer, because you don't want to, you've already fixed the colors of
Right.
her. So now she's on top, standing there.
Cool. And she's right in the exact right spot because the
Exact right
dimensions.
spot, yep.
Yeah. This is math just coming in handy once again.
And that's it. And you get a video of
Check it out.
a girl standing under a waterfall, and the waterfall just keeps looping endlessly.
So cool.
Yeah, so it's quite a quick one. Like, it's not too complicated, but you know, it has a really like wow factor to it, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
To take it one step further, what I would do is reverse the waterfall.
Okay.
So like, it's like, you know, what's going on.
A little bit more trippy. Yeah.
So to do that, you can grab these two, the waterfall video layers, right click it and nest it. So by nesting, it just creates one, it just groups them
Right.
into one. Push this down, and then once you've nested it, you can speed duration. If you right click it, speed duration reverse, it actually makes the waterfall go upwards.
Nice.
So it's still lagging, but yeah, you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So it just goes upwards. Yeah, that's it. And
That's
then I guess the final step would be to export. And a lot of people ask, what are my export settings when I do video? So let's just go through that now. So you go File, Export, Media.
So while that's exporting, got a question from David, who was asking about, do you calibrate your laptop to match the screen on phones?
I've actually never done that before.
You've never done that? Yeah.
But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
To match everything. So I usually edit on my computer until I like it.
Yeah.
And then I put it into Dropbox, and then I open it on my phone, and a lot of time it's not the colors that I want.
Yeah.
And then I open it in Lightroom in my phone and tweak it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, isn't it? Like designing because we used to calibrate desktop computers all the time for print, because you would try to match it to your printer settings, so you get it as close as possible. But today you could match it to your screen and it could look great. And if you obsess over it too much, someone else is, viewing it on a Nokia, and you're...
It's completely different. Like, if I look at my phone and someone else's phone, my Instagram feed, all my photos look completely different.
Yeah, the color's going to be totally different, right? So I think that's a unwinnable battle if you're trying to get everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
But
as long as it looks good for you, I think it's fine.
Exactly, right? Yeah, as long as you're happy with it. It's a good question about color and how we manage that, and 4K screens versus, we've got 8K coming soon, all that sort of crazy stuff. So, yeah, it's a really, really good question.
All right, so we want to tick export video, export audio. You scroll down, render at maximum depth. I don't even know what that means. It just says maximum.
Maximum sounds good,
I know.
right? Yeah.
and the Cinemagraph has lots of depth, so...
Yeah, makes sense.
And then, I guess for me, I guess this VBR pass, this bitrate thing, I just increase it up to 20. It just increases my file size a little bit to just like give it a bit more quality.
Right.
It just like analyzes it more when it's exporting.
Yeah.
And then I use maximum render quality, and then that's all I change. Nothing else. And then I hit export.
Awesome.
And then I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I guess while it's exporting, we can have a chat or answer some questions.
Yeah, cool. So now's a great time for some questions, guys. We're going to do creative challenge in a little bit, but yeah, we got a little bit of time for questions. So now's a good time. Arnav was saying he's been following you since 70K followers on Instagram.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, been around for a while. That's cool. What are you now? Like 200?
201.
201.
201.
Nice. Series day out with Demas in Hong Kong would be a good idea. We should take Demas out for a shoot and do that live.
That's cool.
That would be awesome. Where would you go if we could go anywhere?
In Hong Kong or anywhere in the world?
Hong Kong or anywhere in the world. I've never been to Hong Kong, so you could just make something up. And
We actually did a Global Night Squad event in Hong Kong.
Right.
About almost 2 years ago. It was quite fun. Like we announced it, and just we didn't know how many people would come. Like, didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think about 60, 70 people rocked up that night, and we did like a photo walk. It was really fun getting to meet all the locals in Hong Kong. And
what's that called again? You called that group?
It's called Global Night Squad.
Global Night Squad. Yeah.
My friend and I, Gareth and I, run the page. And it's basically like a community, a night photography community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we try to host events and workshops and that kind of stuff.
Is that
Doing
in
that.
Sydney?
I
specifically?
mean, we both live in Sydney, so a lot of stuff
Yeah.
happens in Sydney.
Yeah.
We haven't done one in a while, but we aim to do one soon. But I guess also another aim is to take it outside of Sydney and see where we can go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done Hong Kong in the past, and Garrett's done one in Kuala Lumpur as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
sweet. So there's 1 second left. It's exported.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so now you have that video. Where is it? I think it's in here. So this is the final video that we get. And it just, if I do repeat,
It's really cool.
then it just loops non-stop. Yeah. And it's pretty cool because you get the bit of detail like at the bottom. Like you see the stream here still coming through, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. And obviously, like, her being still makes everything, and it almost makes it seem like, if I looked at that for the first time, you've cut everything out. Like, you've cut out the rocks, you've cut out the background, like, you've done all this stuff. But actually, like, I mean, you knocked that out in, like, half an hour.
Yeah, it's actually a quick thing to do.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of, like, effect to it and, a big wow factor.
Yeah.
If you see, like, the top right corner, you can see, like, the leaves moving. It's, like, quite subtle and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. The very right side.
The top right,
the foreground.
The leaves are moving.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. We got some questions coming through. Sandra was asking, as a beginner, where would you recommend starting? Tutorial recommendations, that sort of thing.
I think the best way to learn is to just do it. Like, I didn't watch any tutorials because I don't know. I just like to play around with it.
Yeah.
So if you have Lightroom or if you have Photoshop, just like have an aim. Like if you're in Lightroom, ask yourself, what do you want to do with this photo? So like you play with all the sliders. Like you push it to the left, you don't like it, so you push it to the right. So just keep like ask yourself, do you like it or not? And then you go through every slider and see what each slider does.
Yeah.
And then it's just like a repetition process, right? And then if you're in Photoshop, you want to ask yourself, what do you want to do with this photo? Do you want to get rid of all the people? Do you want to, speed things up or make it more blurry or whatever? So, and then if you know what you want to do, you can search for those tutorials online.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So give it a try first, and then kind of go. Oh, I wonder how everybody else does.
Yeah, have
this.
an aim as well. Like have an aim. Like I think the key to editing is don't just go into it blindly. Just like have an aim and see what you want to do with this photo. And sometimes that aim changes along the way, which is good.
You stumble along something like, oh wow, I didn't know that worked that way.
This actually looks quite cool this way, but that wasn't my first plan.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So a bit of experimentation, I think, goes a long way. Cool. Thanks, Sandra, for the question. Luke's is asking, do you ever take pictures that are perfect the way they are, or do you always edit?
I mean, when you're there, it's like, wow, this is really cool. Like, and then you would sometimes say to yourself, oh, I probably don't need to edit this that much. But I mean, when you put in the computer, you start playing around, you can actually, I think that by editing, it kind of accentuates the mood of the photo a little bit more. Like, I want to try to convey the mood that I'm like at that time as well. So like, yeah, by pushing the colors a certain way or like darkening certain things, it brings more like storytelling to your image as well, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to edit someone else's photography? Because you were talking about like the feeling that you were there when you took the shot. Have you ever have you ever tried to do that?
Yeah, I have.
And you got to try to make it up, like try to figure out what it might have felt like.
If it's that case, then you kind of just like tweak it to the point where like you like it, like imagining yourself that you were there or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Mel was asking, cool technical question. Mel was asking, can you embed exported cinemagraphs to play in like PDF, PowerPoint, or Keynote?
I think you can. I mean, it's a video file.
Yep.
So once you just like put into Keynote, it should just play.
Yeah, you can. You definitely can. You sometimes got to play around, particularly with Keynote and PowerPoint, in things like looping and things like automatic playing and triggering.
Yep.
But yeah, you usually just have to Google it and say, why isn't my video playing, and why does it just have like a QuickTime logo in my Keynote presentation or something?
Yeah, exactly.
There's some of those little things that you just need to make sure you get right, and then you follow those steps, and it'll work. Like you press press your next level across, and then you've got this cool cinemagraph happening in the background till you click it again.
I've had a few issues with videos playing in PDF, but I guess it's because it's a PDF. It's not like a presentation.
Yeah.
So it makes the file size much bigger, and like it doesn't know when it should play or end. Like the PDF gets confused.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you just have to play around with it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, playing around with it, and I guess testing it on multiple devices. Always recommend if you've got some video, if you've got a PowerPoint or Keynote, you're taking it to a meeting, like obviously take a backup.
Yeah. Test it out first before you run the meeting.
It's one of those things where if technology is going to fail, it will fail. I've definitely had that happen with embedded video. Festus was asking, my eyes are tricking me into thinking the waterfall stream are going backwards. Yeah, that's right, Festus. We've switched it around.
Yeah. It's an whole waterfall anymore.
Yeah, you thought you were going crazy. But yeah, you flipped it around.
It'd be really trippy if we started talking in reverse.
Backwards, yeah. We should upload this video backwards. We can make that happen, right, guys? We can do that. Cayenne, sorry, I'm probably pronouncing your name incorrectly, but was asking, do you save all your photos or do you delete photos you don't need? This is like a photographer question you must get a lot.
I actually never, it's like a rule of thumb for me to never delete a photo.
You don't delete?
Even if
where do you put all these files?
I just have lots of hard drives at home. I mean, these hard drives are really good.
Right.
Bit of a plug for Samsung.
Yeah, it's like an SSD.
Yeah, it's a T5 SSD, 2 terabytes. So I travel with these, and it's so tiny. I travel with maybe like 3 of them. But when I get home, I back it up onto like larger hard drives, and then. Do
you use a RAID?
I don't.
System?
I just manually do it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I don't delete photos is like just in case I need a part of a photo later. So for example, if it's like, I don't know, just a picture of a flower or a sakura. I'm thinking of cherry blossoms and stuff.
Right.
That was in Japan recently. If it's just a random photo that I probably won't ever use, it could be used somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like you could Photoshop in part of that sakura tree into another photo as like a foreground element, or like it's just in case.
Yeah. And so do you label everything, or is it more like, oh, this was May 2014?
I label the days.
The days.
So like if I'm at Tokyo, I just label the date, like the year first, and then 19, the month, which is April 04, and then today's May, so 05, 01,
right,
and then Tokyo, and then it's just by date.
So you keep doing the same thing for 20 years. It's going to start getting confusing, though, right?
Yeah, but then it has the date and the location, so you can kind of remember.
So there's like a bit of a trigger there. Yeah. Okay.
If you really want to get more specific, you can be like the date, the location, what you did that day as well. You can be like exploring Shinjuku or something. You can write that as well.
You could break it down even further. Yeah, that's cool. Akkad was asking, how do you reduce the size of the file? So I assume you mean like the end file, like a video file. Obviously, they can get really big. Is there a file limit to Instagram, and do you do any reduction?
There is a file limit if it's too big.
Yeah.
So by making the file size like 1080 by 1350, which is what I did here, or if you have a 4K video, you can push it down to like 1800 by 2250.
Okay.
So basically, don't go over like 3000 or like over 2,500. I think that's the range where like Instagram doesn't let you post it.
That's for file size, right? Like canvas size.
Resolution.
Like resolution. Yeah. And what about just file size? Like if you end up with a massive video file somehow.
I think it's fine.
You've never gone over?
No.
Just like maybe it's a time.
Yeah, time based as well. This is only 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So like, I've never posted.
Never hit it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Cool. What software would you recommend for creating invitation cards? Photoshop or Illustrator?
I'm not an Illustrator expert by any means.
Yeah.
You can use both.
Yeah, you can totally use both.
If you're doing more like vector stuff, I'm guessing Illustrator. But if you're doing more graphic stuff, I'm guessing more Photoshop.
Yep. I'd use Illustrator personally for something like that.
Yeah, because there's also text in invitation cards and stuff, so you want to customize all your text, move them to the right location.
Move them around, all that sort of stuff. Avira was asking, do you have any particular process when it comes to follow for color correction? We kind of covered that a little bit, because I was sort of asking, do you have a set number of steps that you edit, but you don't, you do it by feel?
No, it's just like, literally, if I look at the photo, if I think it's too bright, I just push down the exposure. If I think it's it's just like an instinct, intuition thing. Like, the more you do it, the more you get better at it. The more you develop your own sort of look or like what you like.
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning, you're probably like, I don't know what I like.
Yeah.
But just if you like someone's photo, maybe try to, if you like their whole aesthetic or something, if you go to someone's Instagram or blog or website and you like someone's photos, you try to match theirs first.
Yeah.
And then you take it to your own level. Like,
yeah. Start kind of adding a bit of your own personality into it and everything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Have you? Cam was asking, have you ever edited photos directly on the SSD?
Yeah,
Like
that's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
That's what you should do because these are really fast.
Right.
Every time I just copy my SD card photos onto here and I edit straight away on here.
Yeah. Cool. There you go. That was easy answer. The answer is yes. Which laptop do you think is best for video editing in terms of color accuracy and performance? They're looking to buy one.
It's a deep question.
Magna. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, not Apple because you've never used Apple before.
Even like other PCs, like I've been using Dell for a while. Like this is the Dell XPS series. So I've been using this for like maybe 5 years, 6 years, and that's my whole timeline of photography and videos. So like this is what I know.
Right.
And
so you could recommend one laptop.
Yeah, and it works.
Which is this one? It works.
Yeah,
works really well. It's a really tricky one. You got to do your research for that.
Exactly.
And figure out your budget.
Yeah.
Figure out everything else extra that you also need, like SSDs and things like that, because then it's still not super cheap.
Yeah.
To get something.
I use a mouse.
Yeah.
I've always been a mouse person. I've never used a Wacom tablet or the trackpad.
Yeah. I
find like a good mouse. Like this is a Logitech gaming mouse or MX Master.
Yeah.
It's really good because for me, it gives me more control.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Very good. All right, last question. Does IGTV give compression? If yes, how do you make the best of it?
Probably the same as like posts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I read an article somewhere that like doing 30 frames a second is best.
Optimal.
Yeah. So that's the same step for IGTV.
Yeah. Do you ever post on IGTV and then just turn it into a post? Because I know for a while, I don't know if it's still the case, Instagram was like championing those.
Yeah.
Like
so
live.
now you can put your IGTV preview onto your feed.
Right.
And then all the likes and all the comments from your feed go straight to your IGTV.
Oh,
it's
really?
all linked.
Oh, cool.
And then if you want, you can like delete that from your feed, but not delete from IGTV as well.
Right.
So there are options like that.
You got to play around with that stuff quite a bit, don't you?
You gotta understand.
There's a lot going on with that algorithm and the app and everything like that. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
No worries. That was really good fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. Love it's the first Cinemagraph I think we've ever done on Adobe Live. So
sweet. Very
happy for you to come and do that with us. How about we give a bit of a plug for the Creative Challenge, which we're going to do in probably less than 10 minutes.
Yep.
So what are we going to do for the Creative Challenge?
So the difference between this live stream and the Creative Challenge is that I will be giving you, the audience, the files as well, so you can try it out.
Yeah.
You guys. And then you can try it out with me. And when you try it out using your own photos or using my photos, you can submit those photos and either via the link that we give you or via Instagram.
Yep.
But we'll explain that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that with the video.
And then I guess I can check out your work and see if you followed my steps or like see how you interpreted my steps in your own way or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. So you can obviously use the files that you've supplied and follow the steps. So if you're new to photography or new to kind of editing and things like that, if you think, oh, this is a bit complicated, I just want to use everything that's supplied, you can do it just with any computer that you have. If you want to kind of take it on the next step and you're familiar with photography, or if you have your own photos or want to use even stock or anything that you have, that will be super cool as well.
Yep.
And we'd love to see your take on it. And stay tuned, I guess, for that. We'll be doing that very soon.
Yeah. So in this Creative Challenge coming up, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use the motion blur tool in Photoshop to push your panning photos or other sorts of photos as well. But basically, it's mastering the motion blur tool in Photoshop.
Mastering the motion blur tool. I like it. Right here. thank you again. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for the questions. Some great questions in there. There always are when you're on. I don't know what it is. Everyone seems to ask these really great questions. So if you stick around in sort of the next 5 to 10 minutes for the Creative Challenge, thank you, everybody, for coming along. And we'll also be back with Adobe Live same time next Wednesday. So Thanks again.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you soon.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live, the second creative challenge that we've done, part 1 of 4. It's all right, you don't have to write that down. So welcome back, Demas. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
We had a nice little 5-minute break.
Yeah.
And now we're back to it.
Yep.
So if you're watching live, hopefully you just caught the last hour where we went through some photo editing techniques, creating a Cinemagraph, which is super cool.
Yep.
And then if you're watching this video on demand, check that out. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Adobe APAC Live as well. But today we're going to do a creative challenge.
Yes, we are.
In which we would like to see you participate as well. So it's a little bit of an interactive thing. So you have essentially a week or till the end of the month to participate in the little tutorial that we're going to give you.
Yep.
And log into the chat and ask your questions while we're going here. And again, if you're watching the on-demand version, all the links to download everything will be down the bottom. And if you're watching live, there's actually a download template here. Wait, there, above you to download it, and you can follow along now.
Awesome.
But why don't you give us a little bit of a run through what we're going to do?
Yeah, so today on this week's creative challenge, so this is one of 3 challenges.
One of 3 challenges.
Yep. The first challenge I'm gonna teach you is how to use the motion blur tool to accentuate and exaggerate your panning photos.
Yep.
When you take some panning photos of moving cars or moving trains or moving bikes or whatever you're taking photos of moving stuff.
Yep.
So I guess the first step to this would be if you're not using the photos that I've provided, the first step would be to go out there and shoot your own panning photos. It's a little bit tricky because you kind of need to make your shutter speed a little bit laggy, so
right.
1/4 of a second, 1/5 of a second, 1/6, around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to follow the car or follow the object that's moving.
What's the easiest thing? Is a car the easiest, or maybe a train on an outdoor platform or something like that?
I think what might make it even easier is if you use a tripod and then you make the top part swivel.
Oh, okay.
So it's always on that one axis.
Right.
That's easier. But if you if you don't have a tripod, you can just turn your body.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a bit of trial and error to get it right, but once you get it right, you'll know that there's like a sharp car that's really cool.
Cool.
With a blurry background.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
right.
Should we get started?
Let's do it.
So we're gonna go into Lightroom. This is the photo that I've provided you guys with. So you can see it's actually quite tiny.
Yeah, it's really small.
The car is actually it's quite tiny. I shot this on my 12 to 24 mil, so it's quite wide angle. But it's at 24 mil. So if we zoom into the car, it's actually quite sharp, and the background's quite blurry. So I'm going to use this one. I like the color of the taxi, and it kind of works quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the first step was just to basically color grade in Lightroom, as you would with any other photo.
Yeah.
For this one, I'm going to start by enabling profile corrections to fix any lens distortions from your lens.
Right.
That's the first step. And then let's crop it first to 4:5. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty tight crop. But because the camera that I use is 40 megapixels.
Right, wow.
You can kind of crop in a little bit more.
I noticed when you zoomed in, there's still a lot of information on the taxi,
for sure.
and it's a huge photo, yeah.
I'm going to put the taxi on the bottom kind of rule of thirds line.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, something like that is good. Maybe even crop it a little bit more. Oops. To get it more focus on the taxi. It's up to you, whatever way you want to crop it. But yeah, so I'm happy with that framing. The taxi looks quite nice and centered in the photo.
Cool. And just a reminder that if you're watching this, you can actually download the files and follow along.
Yes,
so literally this exact file. So you can follow step by step if you want to figure it out.
Yep. Or if you want to watch it later and do it while you pause the video and stuff, you can also do it then.
Perfect.
Sweet. So now just basically playing with all the sliders. It's a bit dark, so I'm going to push up the light a little bit more. And I think what makes these photos stand out more is because there's all these lights in the background. You want to push those colors out even more. So pushing the highlights down brings out a lot more color. Pushing the shadow maybe down a little bit more. maybe down, yeah, and then
Wait, you push those highlights way down.
yeah. So by pushing the highlights down, you kind of like bring back the color a lot more. Then blacks, you can kind of, I think you can push it up a little bit. I think vibrance and saturation is important because then you get more color. So pushing that up, pushing the clarity maybe up a little bit, dehaze a little bit. So it's like just minor tweaks here and there. But the aim of it is to try to push the colors out.
Right.
For when you use the motion blur, like it'll give a better effect for your motion blur later on when there's more color to play with.
Okay.
And then the HSL tab here. So again, we're just going to go through each slider. Like this is completely up to you, preference-wise. Like what colors you like and what you don't like.
And depend on the photo as well, like how much of that color is in each photo and everything else.
I guess the beauty of the like Shinjuku, the area I took this in, is that like there's so much neon lights everywhere.
Yeah.
That it kind of gives a really cool background to these car shots. Yeah, basically just trying to push the colors out of this image a little bit more. So basically just pushing saturation up on all or not most of these colors.
Hey, Scott G was asking what shutter speed was this pic taken with?
This photo was taken at 1/5 seconds. So it's not too slow, but it's slow enough to get a moving background. Yeah, so I'm just gonna keep tweaking here. It's just like a quick sort of tweaks on all the colors. So I like my blues a little bit more aqua, and my purples I can push that out a little bit more. Push it towards the magenta side, and then maybe let's just brighten some of these colors up as well. Yeah, I guess just Lightroom is kind of like you can take your time with it. Just use make sure you like the colors that are in the photo. Yeah, add a bit of split toning to give a little bit more blue to the image because I like my photos more cooler.
Right.
So this adds to that a little bit. Sweet, we're almost there. Sharpen it a little bit more. So this is like just zooming through just settings after settings. But again, like the more practice, the more you know what you want to do with each setting.
Right. Right. So at home, people might, feel free to take a little bit more time.
Yep.
A little bit more trial and error.
Yep.
With them.
So I guess I'm pretty happy with this right now. We can always come back and tweak the colors later.
Okay.
Back in Lightroom or even in Photoshop. So if we look at the before and after, that's the before, and that's the after.
Right.
Is it? Yeah. So that's before, that's after. So just not that bit much of a difference, to be honest. It's just making it cooler and straightening it. All right. So we're gonna bring this into Photoshop. So we're gonna go edit in Adobe Photoshop. So you should open it up automatically.
Cool.
Because it's a big file. It's gonna take a bit of time.
You shoot in RAW, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these files that you're gonna be downloading are 40 megabytes each.
Yeah, man. I uploaded them to Dropbox, tethering from my phone. So yeah, I know they're pretty big.
Sweet. So that's the file that you get, right? Yeah. First thing you're gonna do, you're gonna duplicate the background layer.
Okay.
So right click and then duplicate. And then this is kind of where the magic happens. You're gonna go filter, blur, motion blur.
Okay.
That's motion blur. So the aim of it is to like blur out that whole background. So it's not, so it kind of just mushes into a bunch of colors.
Right.
So in motion blur, there's a few settings. There's angle and distance. So if you play with the angle, it changes the angle of the blur. But because this is a panning shot, we're going to stick with 0.
Yeah,
because
so we want it to be horizontal. Cool.
And distance, you can play with the distance to be like however long you want the pixels to be. You can even push it up to 2000 and make it all lines. For this photo, I kind of like it a little bit like that, like just so you can see a little bit but not fully. So I'm going to keep it at 1000. So I'm going to go okay. So then you get that difference, right? Like that's the motion blur.
Yeah.
So now you're going to put on a masking layer. And what a masking layer does is by painting black or white onto the masking layer, it reveals and shows the different parts of the photo.
Cool.
So if we click add masking layer down here, it creates that masking layer, and then you're going to paint that all black. So change the color to black, paint it, click it, and because that masking layer there is black, it shows everything now.
Everything's gone, yep.
And then we're going to go back and paint the motion blur back in. So we're going to change this back to white, and then make your brush size maybe a little bit bigger, especially for this top part, and maybe even bigger, like 1,000 like that, and you're just going to paint that in. So the top part you can kind of be a bit more loose.
Looks like you're smudging the canvas here.
The top part you can be more loose, and then the bottom part will get to more like details with the polygonal lasso tool and stuff. So I painted the top, that looks quite good. So now I'm going to zoom in and use the polygonal lasso, and we're going to just kind of cut out the taxi. So just follow along the lines, cutting it out.
As you're doing that, Festus was asking, is it as easy to play with colors in Photoshop instead of using Lightroom?
I think Lightroom is actually easier because you get more control over certain colors. I think Photoshop you're able to do it as well, but it's just not as in your face as Lightroom. Like all the settings,
right?
You gotta have to look for it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Lightroom is actually better for color grading, for changing colors in your image. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna cut around this taxi. It doesn't have to be too perfect because it's like a motion blur, but I mean, you can take your time with it.
Can we use the magic tool for the car, magic wand?
I think you should be able to. I didn't try it, but I'm always done here. So it's all right. So yeah, the wheels are okay because you're gonna blur that out later. So basically, you can just chop the bottom off because it's not. Okay, so that you get taxi. You can kind of do one of two things now. You can inverse the selection and then keep painting, so it doesn't paint the selection.
Yep.
Or you can make this taxi a new layer on its own.
And just put it on top of everything?
Put it on top of everything.
Right.
So maybe let's do that for now. So layer via copy, right click it, and so you get this taxi. You want to do that on the background layer.
Right.
Yeah, so you get this.
Because otherwise you're going to end up with a blurry taxi.
Exactly. And then now we can keep painting because the taxi's already on top. So click your masking layer, maybe make your brush a little bit smaller this time, and then we can keep painting and not affect the taxi. So kind of like that. It's kind of cool.
The taxi is fast.
Taxi is going really fast. In the photo that I posted on my Instagram, the zebra cross, like if I motion blur that, it kind of turns into a big smudge.
Right.
So I'm gonna either keep it like this or bring in another photo where the zebra cross is more horizontal.
Okay.
So keep everything horizontal.
Yeah.
The theme.
Cool.
So we're gonna go back into Lightroom. We're gonna copy the settings of this, except for the crop, because we don't want to copy the crop.
Can you show us where you did the copying the settings?
So copy here on the bottom left with the three dots.
Great.
And just tick everything because you're going to copy everything except for the crop because we cropped it so much we don't want to crop the other one.
Okay.
So copy and then get that other photo, which is this one. That's the one that's already been edited. So this is the one unedited, and paste. So the button on the next to the copy. So you get sort of a similar edit. You can tweak it as well, but I'm just going to leave it as is. And I'm going to also edit this in Photoshop.
This is obviously shot, a different photo, but shot in the same place, in the same area. So you got similar lighting, same camera, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably helps.
Yeah, I knew that I was going to put zebra cross underneath.
Oh, you did? You knew.
So
okay.
I did that on purpose.
This comes back to that planning stuff we were talking about,
Yeah.
like planning your shots and planning what you want to do.
So once it is opened, we're just going to select the bottom half just by dragging a box. Copy, Control V, and then we're going to paste it in here. So it looks a bit funny at the moment because we need to position it in place, but we're just going to retransform, Control or Command T, and free transform that below the car, and basically just position it into place. I mean, the beauty of having the car on its own layer is that I mean, it's already going to be at the top all the time.
It's already done.
I'm going to stretch it a bit more. Basically, I want to keep this as horizontal as possible. And you don't have to just tweak it like that. You can also distort by pushing like different angles up, and then you can also warp. So you can, if you can see that little warp on the road, you can actually bring the warpiness down, so that kind of straightens the photo a little bit more. Sweet. So I'm happy with that. Now we just have to blend it in together with the other photo. And again, we're going to use a masking layer for that. But before that, I'm going to also motion blur this layer.
Okay.
So filter, blur, motion blur. Where's motion blur? And then you should get like the same blur. Yeah. So it's, you get that sort of speed blurring through the, sweet. And then I guess the final step is to mask this out. So get a masking layer and then start painting black on top. So we're gonna paint the black. And so just so that zebra cross kind of fades out in the back, and you get that shadow of the taxi back below it. Yeah,
because otherwise it was floating a little bit on top, wasn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, so you get the taxi back, the shadow. Yeah. Cool. That's looking not bad. And then maybe I can even paint more white in here. Sweet. So that's what you get.
Awesome.
Then what we can do is save it. Oh wait, because the edges of the taxi are a bit too sharp, we can and you can see that the masking's not very good. You can see there. You can sort of blur that even more by getting the blur tool and then just blurring the edges, like just rubbing out the edges of the taxi so it blends in with the background a lot more. There you go.
Nice.
Sweet. So you get that, and then now you just have to click save. And by clicking save, it creates a new file in Lightroom, and it automatically opens it for you.
Great.
The colors are a bit muted for me, so I'm going to bring that out again even more. So I'm going to push up the contrast, push out the vibrance. So then now, so you can see a lot more color. Push up the saturation, push up the shadows. There we go. And I think I want to make the zebra cross a bit darker. So I'm going to bring like a graduated filter from the bottom, put up, and then just push that exposure way down, and saturation down as well. So yeah, so you get like a more crispy looking zebra cross.
The crispiest.
The crispiest zebra cross. So yeah, and then I guess the last thing that you want to do is probably add a vignette to bring the focus more towards the taxi. So scroll down here all the way to effects, and then bring that vignette in and feather it out, make it rounder, and then push that midpoint in.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it, that vignette right at the end?
I think it does, yeah. So that's without it, and that's with it. Like it kind of just gives that more drawing in effect on it. So yeah, that's about it. You can do this technique for lots of different things, so not just painting shots. You can, like, you've probably seen this one as well on my Instagram, where I use exactly the same technique on this skyline photo, where I blurred it vertically, and then I masked out the different buildings.
And you did the same technique where you went back in and masked it and you just painted back in what you wanted to not be blurry, or what you wanted to be blurry, whichever way you want to do it.
So you can make the selection more boxy as well, so it's like more lines rather than more freeform.
Yeah, cool.
So make your selection boxy and then just paint it in.
Cool.
So yeah, you can get super creative with the motion blur tool for sure. But yeah, so here was the before. Oh wait, no, where's the before? Here's the before. I'm gonna reset it just to show what it was before, and then we got to here at the end.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Thank you very much. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. We've got one question for Festus. Did saving it back to Lightroom bring the file in with the layers, or is it all merged into one?
Yeah, so it creates a TIFF file.
Yeah.
So if you want to edit it again, like you want to make more tweaks to that Photoshop file, it's still in layers.
Right. Okay.
So if you save it again, it kind of resets that second Lightroom stage that you did. So what you want to do is you want to copy all the settings first, copy it, and then you want to...
Including crop this time?
Yep. Edit in Photoshop. So you edit the original.
Right.
And then it opens back up. So it's
cool.
The same file. And once you save it, you paste it in again.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's the step if you want to keep editing your Photoshop file.
Great. Excellent. All right. Can we bring up where people can submit?
Sure. So this is the form that you can submit. So upload the photo, enter a caption, add your Adobe ID email, your name, and your website to submit a portfolio review.
Yeah, so if you have some like Instagram feed or something that you want Demas to have a look at, if we have time, we'll do that at the same time.
Yep.
And if you don't want to fill in this form, that's totally cool. If you're on Instagram, they can also use the hashtag.
Yep, so you use the hashtag Adobe Live.
Yep.
And also tag me at Demas in the caption and also in the photo as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, and at the end of the 4 weeks, we'll review all 3 weekly creative challenges.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about your edits.
Yeah, we'll talk through it all, and obviously if you struggle with any of the steps, we can try and answer questions as well. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and feel free to use the files that are provided for you at the link. So again, that is download here button if you're watching live. If you're watching on YouTube, it's down there. And just click the link and have a go. If you can only do one, that's great. If you can do all 3, fantastic. But we'll be back next week with another creative challenge with Demas.
Awesome.
Cool.
See you guys next week.
See you guys.